Thanks for being here on a Saturday morning. This is gonna be an awesome day. Our goal is to be done today in 2 hours, so you can have your Saturday and your weekend. But this is maybe the last leadership training that we're gonna do here, and then we have kind of a cool announcement. We're gonna do the next time we see you will be at a leadership retreat. I'm gonna give you the dates on that here in a second, but here's some other announcements. Upcoming sales trainings, Wednesday the 28th, March, middle of March, end of March. We'll keep running sales trainings basically through April as our game plan. We will have quite a few reps on the doors in April this year, but we want to be able to support the students that are in school still. So we're going to run sales trainings all the way through April. And we might have to get somewhat creative with that because some of the leadership will be out in April, but we'll figure that piece out. So those are some dates on that. The leadership retreat's going to be the 22nd and 23rd, which is a Friday, Saturday in March. And we found a really cool Airbnb there in Lock That Up. It's in Colville, Utah, which is, I know it's like super random, but it's a cool house. And
Is that north, south?
Northern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little closer for the Rexburg guys and girls.
Is that the pad right there?
A little further, the pad. That's the actual pad. So it's gonna be a good time. Isaac.
Was that like starting Friday, like in the afternoon, evening?
Yeah, we haven't nailed tons of details on that yet, but probably similar to the one we did last year. Last year we met up like late afternoon and did food, and then we started training that night. We did like a training session, like 2 hours of training that Friday night.
We'll be eating at the house though, so it'll be like just get there when you can get there for dinner, and then we'll do training.
Yeah, and then we'll do some fun stuff that night. Everyone can stay there. There's enough lodging for everyone to crash. And then Saturday morning, we'll get up, do some more training, and then head out. So it's like a Friday afternoon and evening, Saturday morning type thing on those dates, on that Friday, Saturday, on that weekend. So if you can be there, that will be super important. Like we want as many of our leaders there as possible. We are going to be talking basically exclusively about summer at that point, because obviously dates at that point, we're like ramping up. A lot of people will be leaving within a couple weeks from there. And so it's going to be lots of summer execution stuff, which we're also going to start to get into today. That's a lot of our training today is like in summer training, because we're getting closer. Seriously, it's like a month away for a bunch of people. So
We have our first rep meeting doors in 2 weeks.
2-3 weeks, yeah. Dustin's we're gonna call him the winter soldier this year. He's getting after it.
He actually hits the doors in 1 week.
Yeah, well, he's
March
yeah, I think
1st, right?
second week of March. Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah. So anyway, Dustin is starting soon. But, and then we have quite a few, like I said, we'll probably have 50 to 60 people on the doors by the middle of April this year as a company. So we're gonna be rocking. It's gonna be awesome. We want you to have a touch point with Theron when it comes to like when your reps are starting and housing and just summer game plan stuff. So we just created, if you saw the Slack channels for each team, we have 7 teams this summer. We just created those channels. You should know who your co-managers are or who your the other leaders are that you're working with. And we want your little group to team up and schedule a meeting with Theron so that you can kind of battle plan. So
Yeah, so the
part of
idea-
that conversation be housing.
Right. Well, mainly I just want you guys to kind of, as managers and leaders on your team, be really, really dialed in and connected to like everyone's schedule and start dates on your team. You should be very familiar with like, this week we have this many reps and this week we have this many reps out. Like, I want to be able to sit down with you and look at your housing and be able to identify, oh wait, this guy actually doesn't start until this day, or he needs to be there earlier. If I can see that with you and we can be dialed in on it, then everything kind of dominoes from there. Rent and like leases getting signed and then getting your knocking gear, where it needs to be, when it needs to be there. So there's a lot of things that I'd like to be a little bit more connected to each of the managers and teams this year directly, rather than like, oh, this is what Parker told me, right? Like, let's really just sit down and make sure that you guys feel like you're 100% ready. So That's my job, is to make sure you have what you need, so let's just be in communication on it. So if you haven't met with me, I've met with a couple guys already, but if you haven't talked to me, then schedule something with me in the next couple weeks.
So part of that, like Darren has a doc that shows all of the starting dates for your whole team. Like, so we as a company have like a ton of info that will help you even find some things out that you may not know currently, like as far as information that we have. So we did that meeting with Tanner this week, and it was like just really effective. We sat down, pulled up like, hey, here's your whole team, here's the start dates, end dates, cars, how many vehicles we have for car groups, like stuff like that, right? Which you need to think through all those angles, because you might have some problems that you don't know exist yet that we need to go figure out, you know, so.
And the assumption is that because you're closer to your people than we are, that you know more than we do about their circumstances. And if we get into that meeting and you don't, then like, it's on you. Like, if it's your team and your people, then we hope that you take the time to fill in the blanks and then circle back so that we're all on the same page. The summer runs so much smoother when no one gets surprised, right? So, and the more intentional you can be about when guys show up and when they're leaving and who has a car and all those things that we're talking about, the better prepared you'll be to be able to really just go dominate and win rather than putting out fires and figuring out, like, when you get there, oh, how are we gonna do partners, because I don't have enough drivers, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Or like, this dude showed up a week early and no one knew, now we don't have a bed for him. And then we're scrambling the night up, trying to get him in the hotel. Like, that's not the best introduction to welcome to the summer, and we're stoked to do.
Yeah, we want to make a good first impression, and you can get a lot of that out of the way with being organized as a leader. So, any other questions on that? Cool. Okay, we have a couple days left in February to hit these this recruiting incentive. So we're doing like a custom sweatshirt hoodie for people that recruit 2 people in the month of February. So we've had a bunch of people earn that, some people that are close. I think this is updated.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a plug for that. We're at about 140 people hired. These are this kind of looks like McDonald's colors.
No, right?
The reason why is it's like client colors.
Yeah, yellow Palisade, red's Frontline.
When I first saw this, I was like, what is this? So you got your Palisade teams, frontline teams, and then anchor. But we're at about 140 reps hired. Our goal is still pushing for 200, and we're on pace. We need to just keep the gas pedal down and keep focusing on this time of year is a lot, right? You're wearing multiple hats, like you're recruiting and still hiring reps. But now you're training and getting ready for summer. So like, there's just a lot going on, and just lean into it. And soon that will change. Like soon it will just be production, execute. But right now, this time of year, you are going to naturally just be wearing multiple hats. Lots of retention, lots of recruiting, lots of training. It's all of the above. So anyway, these are the team breakdowns. We have some big teams this year. So we're spread across 7 locations, but they're bigger teams, which I'm excited about. I love the idea of, even after some attrition and losing some reps, us having 7 really strong, solid teams this year, and that's the path we're headed down. So yeah, those are our seven locations that we'll be in. I'm gonna do a quick review of that last training that I did here today. It might take 15-20 minutes, and then I'm gonna kick it over to Gabe, and he's going to train on some stuff that's more summer focused, and it's gonna be an awesome day today. So who was here? Please try to raise your hands. Who was here last time when I did that like top producers training? Maybe raise your hand if you weren't here. That'll be more helpful. There's like four or five people. I have a gift for you if you weren't here. So I want to hand these out real quick, and I just want to do like a quick 5-minute recap of what I talked about last time. I gave you one, right? This is for you. I gave you one yesterday. Have I given you one?
No, thank you.
Anyone else? Cool. So last time I talked about this idea of like, things are created first spiritually, and then you go and you physically create them. Like that's how I believe God created the world, right? As he created it spiritually, and then he went and executed. And your lives and your summer and everything that you do should look really similarly, right? There's this idea that if you aim for nothing, you'll always hit it, right? And so you need to have an aim, you need to have a vision. And I can't emphasize enough how important that's been for me in my life. Like, if I go and set a goal and make it important and I just like continue to think on it and grind on it, a lot of times it ends up happening. So I want to walk through just this process really briefly of like what's in this book. It's a morning routine journal. It takes 10 to 15 minutes. And there's 3 or 4 little things that like it asks you to do every morning. And it's been a huge blessing in my life. And I believe it'll help you guys get in the right state as we prepare for a big summer. So there's a gratitude portion where every morning you wake up and you do the 3 things you're grateful for. There's a positive affirmations section, just like I am statements. I believe your personality is not permanent, and your personality can change in a better way. We can improve and change as people. That's like one of the coolest things I believe that about life is we can change. And so you can tell yourself, like identity wise, if you're not who you want to be, you can start to tell yourself who you want to be in these I am statements every morning. And I believe that can be really powerful. The next part is a top 10. And this is like a Covey, Stephen Covey thing, but basically the 10 most important goals in your life. I want you to list them down every morning. And that won't always be like a copy and paste from the morning prior. Life can change even over a couple weeks time, and our goals can change, but a lot of them will stay the same. And when you do this top 10, I would recommend that it's like in the next 12 months of my life, these are the 10 things that are the most important to me that I'm cranking on and that are my goals. Anyway, and then there's like a to-do list and some things like that, but it takes 10 to 15 minutes. I would invite you to do it. And I really do believe like a lot of us leveling up as producers and as leaders starts with like in between your ears, right? It's just the things that you're telling yourself, and it's the identity that you're going and trying to create for yourself. But I handed these out a couple of weeks ago. I wanted to just open it up and see if anyone has done this. I know a couple of you have because you hit me up, which I really appreciate. I was kind of worried that like this wouldn't hit and that it wouldn't be very cool to you guys, and that it's just cool to me. So it's been cool to hear it from some people. If you wouldn't mind just being a couple of you sharing maybe just what this has done for you in your lives in the last couple of weeks as you've been doing it, just so that if you haven't started it, you can kind of hear some success stories. Tanner, thanks.
The top 10 thing every morning, putting it in, has just made it more top of mind, like throughout the entire day. Like, these are my goals, and like every action I have is intentional to helping me accomplish one of them. Like, it's breaking it down from a 12-month goal into like small little things I can do now that will help me get there. Whereas like without that, I probably would be like constantly focusing in on it and prepping for the summer where a lot of those goals are going to be able to come to fruition. With the gratitude portion as well, like I think that's just opened my mind to seeing like the world less selfishly, if that makes sense. So like finding opportunities to serve, and also like recognizing like the small little things that like I'm able to enjoy that day, like spending time with my wife at night and whatnot. So just like, okay, like how do I go get some more cash? Like how do I like build this little empire like I'm trying to create? So it's helped me help other people, which I think is an important aspect of this job. It's part of it serving. So
Cool. Thanks for sharing that, man. Jax?
Yeah, for me personally, it's a reminder of what I'm pushing for. So it's like every time I open up the book in the morning, it's just like, this is what my goals were yesterday. Like, I'm still pushing for the same thing. And then
Yeah.
at the top, I'm always putting what I want to do that day. And it's just a reminder to me that like, I have an end goal.
Yeah.
And this is like step one.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, a lot of times in life, like if we don't have the end in mind, then we just kind of feel like we're drifting. And then adversity and hardship comes, and then we just kind of lay down and, like, and so it's been the same for me. Is I just like that constant top of mind, like this is where I'm headed. And it might not be linear, it might be ups and downs, but like that is where I'm headed. Like I am going to be there in 12 months. And telling yourself that day in and day out, like I just believe there's so much power in that. And it'll help in the execution. Like when you go and it's time to now go and make the things happen. Because it's not linear, when you have a down day, like for me, it's helped a ton just to be able to, that inner dialogue in my head to be able to say like, dude, it's a down day, but in 12 months I'm there. Like my top 10, they're all going to happen. Carter.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, I think in the front of the book, it says that when you're writing down your top 10 goals, people will come into your path and experiences will come to help you achieve those goals.
Yeah.
And that's been like a huge realization in my life. Like every day I try my best to like not copy the goals from the previous week. And it's crazy, like the experiences that come in your life and the people that come in your life to be able to help you achieve those goals.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and some people call that the law of attraction. Like I simply believe like what's important to us is important to God. Like if it's important to you, it's important to God, and He puts things in your life and allows them to go and happen, right? I'm a big believer in that. Yeah.
Sorry to start a second thing, but a huge part that I figured out from like reading like books, like building habits and whatnot, is like creating a self identity and putting that identity into the book every single day. Like
Yeah.
it's reinforcing like I am this kind of guy. So like for me, like I am, like a 400,000 account rep, and I'm putting that every single morning. So like when summer comes around, like it's not like, oh, am I going to do this? It's like, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do.
Right. Because when you get to summer and you're a week in and you maybe start with a slow week or whatever, like there's that voice that will be in your head of like, am I that? Right. But when you've had 7 months of just like over and over again telling yourself that, like, I believe that voice will be louder than that scarcity voice. And that's this job and that's life, right? Is like listening to the right voice. There's the abundance voice, there's the scarcity voice. So for me to summarize this whole morning journal thing, like the major benefit is get that voice in your head really loud. One of belief, one of like, this is my identity and this is who I am, this is where I'm headed, these are my goals. So that because we all know like crap's gonna hit the fan. Like we're gonna get to summer, something hard's gonna happen, and then that scarcity voice is gonna start to talk. It always does, it's just inevitable. But the more you can build that muscle pre-summer to go and be ready for that and geared up for that, the better. And then you'll be more prepared to go and help other people and give your energy and your love to them because you're okay and you're above water, and you're on your pace. So last thing I just wanted to touch on, like, and these are aligned in my opinion, is the other thing we talked about is there's these 3 A's, and they're really the same as like what we always talk about, right? With the work ethic, the mental game, and then the skill set game. This is a different way of kind of branding it that I thought was like fun to talk about. But my main question is just like, what are the things, and this morning journal thing might be one of them, right? But what are the things that you guys are willing to give up this year to get that new outcome? A lot of you guys probably have a goal this year that maybe you've never accomplished. I would hope that most of you have a goal this year that you've never yet accomplished, right? Like if your goal this year is to do something that you've done, then you probably need to revisit your goals, because like that shouldn't be part of our human experience. It's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna do what I did last year. Like it's not why we're here. We're here to grow, right? And get to the next level. So I wanted to open up just again for another 2-3 minutes on this piece. It's just like, what are you willing to do this year that you haven't done? Like if we really do believe that the inputs equal the outputs, if you want that new goal, then you can't do the same inputs, right? So if you don't have an answer to this, like if your goal is to go do more revenue, but you don't know what you're willing to give up, then like there's a disconnect there, right? That's like really obvious. You're not going to go score more points in a basketball season and have the same habits or have the same everything, right? Like, so something has to change. So what are the things that you guys are doing or are willing to do this year within these 3 categories that will help you guys go and hit your new goal this year? If a couple of you have a thought on this or something that you've already done or that you're planning on doing, I'd love to hear that. I think it'd be healthy for us just to share a couple of those thoughts as a group. Yeah.
These probably sound really stupid, but like ever since like the end of the summer, like I've been going to the gym and intentionally focusing like on cardio. I've got shoulder surgery, so I can do like a ton of upper body, but like I want my physical like aspect of the summer not to be limited because I'm getting tired. Like it's hot out there, you're walking around, like you might have a scooter or whatnot, but like still I don't want that to like slow me down. And so I'm like focusing like, okay, how can I be like stronger than ever? So then when it does happen, it's not like the physical aspect that wants to take me out.
Yeah.
Same thing with like nutrition. Like I noticed that like over the summer after eating lunch, like I have a little bit of a crash and become a little bit more lethargic. So it's like, okay, how can I change my nutrition and like my like habits with eating so that I'm not having this crash? So I'm optimizing the time that's most important spent on the doors.
Yeah, you ready to sell with 2 shoulders this year?
I am, yeah, that'd be great.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. So health, like you're making you've been cold plunging, which is awesome. Just like doing hard things. What else? Maybe one or two just last thoughts on this piece. Like, what are you doing differently that will yield that bigger goal?
We kind of talked about this last time, I think. But like at least for the summer itself, like not taking breaks.
Yeah.
And just working the
Yeah.
full 8 hours a week.
Yeah, from an activity, which is your work ethic thing, like last time I talked about this idea of like everyone has a batting average, right? You might have a lesser batting average than the person next to you, but you still have a batting average. And so the simple truth is like if you were to just take less breaks and work harder, like you will sell more accounts. And so buying into that, that's just truth. Like there's no interpretation or subjectivity there. It's just like that's cold hard truth. Take less breaks, like take less breaks, you have a batting average. Even if we don't look at the attitude or the aptitude there, like that's a simple truth that will yield you more sales. So if you have a bigger goal, you are simply going to have to work harder. Like the magic you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding, right? So any other thoughts on this before we move on, Carter?
One thing I've been trying to do, I hate school. Okay?
Yeah.
Like college is the worst.
Yeah.
And I'm in a lot of hard classes this semester, and what I've been trying to do is just like see the good in each class.
Yeah.
And then by seeing the good, I've been getting my homework done on time, and by doing that, I feel like it's definitely preparing me for the summer to
Yeah.
be able to look on the positive when I'm rejected, or just like when I'm on the doors and I'm like, man, I hate this. I can say, I can like find positives in it.
Sure, yeah. So you're building that muscle.
Mhm.
Your current vehicle is school, but you're like, I hate this, but you're finding a way to find the beauty in that so that you can kind of do the same thing with summer. I think that's awesome, man. It's cool. Cool. Well, thanks for being transparent. I would say this is like my homework that I want to leave with you guys with, like, as we continue to prep for summer is, you got a new goal and it's a bigger goal. What are the inputs you're changing to go and reach that new goal? And there have to be some, like, or else you will not hit your goal. Like, I'm not trying to be pessimistic or I'm just trying to be real, So that's super important to understand. Anyway, those books are awesome. Just a quick review from the last training. I'm going to turn it over to Gabe now, who is going to be talking about diving into some more summer content. So let's give Gabe a hand. Before that too, I really want to thank Theron Theron has been grinding on housing. Like every time I'm here, Theron is in that room working on housing. So I meant to do this earlier, but let's give Theron a huge hand.
Says we're giving people hands. Let's give Parker a hand. That was amazing. You appreciate the perspective and the power in the truths that just like that you just were reinforced. That I know he taught them last time we were together as a leadership group. There's just a lot of power if you will learn to apply the things that he's teaching. It's just universal, right? That things that are worthwhile have a price tag attached to them. And you have to be willing to pay the price, and you can't cheat it. You can't rob it. There's not a shortcut. You just have to be willing to pay the price. And that's true whether you're talking about like health. It's true if you're talking about finances. It's true if you're talking about like family relationships. There's just a price tag that's tied to those things that are worthwhile. And you have to be willing to pay the price. And you can't just like, well, I'm just going to kind of go about this and hope it happens. Right? You got to be intentional about it. You'll be so much more efficient at accomplishing what really matters. If you know what the price tag is and you're very intentional about going about paying that price to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So that was amazing. We are right around the corner for the summer, and I was thinking about, I graduated from BYU, Idaho. When I think about Idaho, I think about like farmers and cowboys and like rodeos. I think like my first rodeo was definitely in Idaho. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and was kind of a city kid, and one of my good buddies like arranged to have some of the student body go to like the Madison County Rodeo, and we were out like trying to like rope steers on. I mean, like we did some crazy stuff. Like I rode a bull while I was in college up there, like, and I remember going to my first rodeo, and like we were there like behind the scenes. And you have like, if anyone's been to like a bull riding competition, you're on this like massive animal that can absolutely just demolish you. And there's this like this little tiny cowboy, because like usually bull riders are small for whatever they fit, but I don't know why, but maybe they're more crazy. But so they're like roped in, right? And they're like knotting themselves to this animal, like literally like tying themselves to this thing. And you know, there's like this crew of people that are holding the bull, and they're in the chute, and there's all this preparation, and they get him like knotted in, and he's like there, and then he gives them the nod, and the chute flies open, and all hell breaks loose, and he's just hanging on for dear life, trying to get a good ride out of this thing for 8 seconds. And that feeling of like hanging on to the, you know, like that bull, you're in the chute, and it's like you're about to give the nod, and the chute's coming open, and you know all hell's about to break loose. That's how I feel about the summer every time. I've been doing this forever. And right about this time of the year, it's like, oh man, we're strapped in, and we're about to give the nod, and all hell is about to break loose. And what a ride, right? It's like that ride of that rush of the summer, and going out and holding like your destiny in your own hands, and being able to go do something amazing that most people think is crazy that they would never do. We get to do that. And I hope that there's a little bit of like that there's that place where like fear and fun meet. And in my world, that's like what I call adventure. When you're living in that place of like, I'm a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm also having the time of my life. Like that's when you're doing it right. And for me, that's like what the beginning of every summer brought was like, there's this little bit of like, oh man, here we go again. I'm a little bit uncomfortable, but then also like this, like, man, I'm super excited. I can't wait to go accomplish something amazing. I hope you guys feel that. I hope that there's a little bit of like, you're about to give the nod, and we're going to open up the chutes, and it's about to get real. Hopefully real fun and real exciting. We want to set some expectations. You, as leaders in our organization, you make or break the success of our company, and the success of our teams, and the success of our people. You like it's on you, and so we want to make sure that we're setting really clear expectations, and then equipping you with the tools to be able to go really make a difference in the people who trust you with their summer's lives this summer. So if we could boil down everything that we're going to talk about, if the only thing you remember from today is like this, then this is probably going to be enough. So please listen to the rest, because there's some good stuff. This is not easy to do, but we expect you to lead from the front and to bring your people with you. And I would love to hear from our vets, like, what does this mean to you? When you see that, what does that mean, and what does it look like in a summer setting? And let's start. What does it mean to lead from the front?
Means you're being an example, showing the hard work and dedication that you want your team to show.
I love that. You're the example, right? Like you're doing everything that you would want your reps to do. Can we dive in a little bit more specific on what does that mean? Because you're right, but there's some maybe more granular parts to that. Tyson.
I think it just means that, I mean, for me, I can always give praise back to Cameron. In leading from the front, he was always like if it was like a super cold, rainy day, he was always like going, he never stopped. And I think that's what leading from the front is. It's outworking everybody that's there, and then keep going. You just don't stop. He was like the last one going all the time, and he's never stopping. He's always selling. He's always training. He's always practicing. It's like, you know, I think that's a perfect example of leading from the front is someone that's like can outwork themselves again and again. That's like his line. We were sitting in the car, and he's like, one thing I tell myself is, sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I just tell myself like, I will outwork you. And I think Cameron does like amazing at that. But I mean, for a leader and somebody that's following Cameron, is somebody that never stops. Like there's no end. the day's never done and he's just still going all the time. It's awesome.
Love that, that's great. I like that you're keying in on some of the, we have our 3 pillars of success. Art just talked about it, right? You've got your attitude, your aptitude, and your activity. And as a leader that's leading from the front, you've got to be the example in all 3 of those places where you are the hardest working man on your team. Sometimes your work might look a little different, but you've got to be the hardest working man on your team or woman, hardest working person on your team. Your attitude's got to be exemplar, right? Like you've got to be like the nuclear reactor for your office that feeds the energy for everything else that's happening. And then obviously, like, you've got to be confident enough to be able to go sell and to sell well and to show, like, there's nothing will smash excuses better than like my manager's doing. Like rain or shine, hot or cold, competition or not, whatever's going on in the market, if you're out getting it done, and if you can do it, then guys know that it's done. And then that belief is magical for what it does for their success.
I've just been like pondering so much this year on this idea of like watch my feet, not my lips.
Yeah.
And I just think the best leaders that I've had in my life are ones that like, they're doers and they show by their actions and not just with their words. And obviously like we run correlations and it is a huge piece of this game to like inspire with your words, but it is just so much more powerful to do it with your actions. And there are areas that we can all improve with this. Like even if you're a stud and have had awesome summers, like if you're historically not good at working late, but you tell your people that it's important to work late and you get no results yourself late, like your people, like people aren't dumb and they know, like they know that you're saying one thing, but that your feet aren't doing that. So what's my last thought on this is just like, if you can find a way to find your blind spots and lead from the front in as many areas as humanly possible, your return on that is massive, because not only do you make sales late and you get paid more on that, but then your people will be inspired and believe that they can do that. So you get to double dip there, and it's a really cool thing, not just financially, but with impact, you get to double dip. You get to show them that they can break through their ceilings because they're watching you break through yours.
100%. Like 90% of this is here. If you're doing this right, it gets really easy to say, come follow me guys, I'm doing it, you can too. We got this together. But if you're like, hey, go get them, have fun storming the castle, and you're like that doesn't work very long. And guys need to see it happen. They need to know what it looks like. They need to be able to say, it's a law of cause and effect, right? This is the cause that's creating the effect of success. If I just copy my manager and do what he's doing, then I can expect to get the same result. So the goal is to go become the very best rep that you can be, and then set that example so that your reps can follow and copy it. So you can get that same outcome.
There are different ways to get ahead in life. One of them is to kind of keep doing what you're doing and tear everyone else down so that you're above them, or like actually get better, and then you're bringing everyone up at the same time. I think that's what it's all about. It's like getting better all the way and not being jealous of people around you. If like one of your people sells better than you for a day, not like trying to tear them down or not making it a competition, but just doing your best in all aspects of your life, and then you're gonna grow and naturally inspire everyone around you to do better.
I love that. One of my favorite quotes is from Lou Holtz, and he's a famous football coach, and he said, it's hard to get ahead if you're trying to get even. And I love that idea of like, from a value creation standpoint, if you're tearing people down so that you can look like you're better, you actually haven't gone anywhere. You're stagnant and staying in the exact same place.
Kelly, come here, let's put your pants on.
You can't help to get
Pants on.
That's a great concept. I do want to just say that there's a caution here. There's some tension, maybe some contrary between leading from the front and bringing your people with you. we've had managers in the past that were so good and so far in the front that they kind of left their team like in their dust. Where it was almost like they were on a different level, and so they, instead of inspiring and creating belief, they were like, their team was like resentful, and they were like, well, yeah, he can, but we can't. And so there's a balance here between being focused on making sure you are leading from the front and doing what you're supposed to be doing and setting that example and creating volume of accounts and showing that it's possible, but also making sure that you're taking the time to like teach them how to do what you're doing and to know that you're just as invested in their success as you are in your own. So there's a balance, and so both of these need to be top of mind. And sometimes it might feel like they're conflicting. Where you're like, dude, I need to go get mine, but this rep's struggling and I need to go train. It's like, which one's which? Like, am I supposed to be leading from the front, or do I go bring my guy with me today? And truthfully, that will be a moving target every day of the summer. And it's why you get paid with like this right here is the reason why the top earners in our company are managers, because it's hard to find this balance and do it really well. And when you do it really well, it's super valuable and it will pay you fantastically. Finding the balance of leading from the front and then doing it. Any other comments, questions on this? Okay. So our invitation is that you bring a high producer, top producer mindsets to your summer. That you show your reps how to do that, how to be a high producing, high functioning rep. And then you create that belief and the path that they know that they can do it too. From like a minimum expectation, we hope that your expectation for you this summer is, as a leader, that you are the top selling rep in your office. And then that you're gunning for a spot on the top 10. Like that's the caliber of rep that we want you to be shooting for this year. And that's ties directly to what Parker led with, which is you want to do different this summer. If you want a different result, if you want to be better, if you want to be on the top 10 and you weren't last year, or you want to be number one when whatever it is that your specific goal is, then you've got to be prepared to do differently this year. Like, are you ready to pay a good price? And so these two things connect, perfectly together with you're willing to do something different so that you can get a better result. And by getting a better result, then you're in a much stronger position to be able to then go lead your team to the success that they need. But we've watched this. I mean, we've been doing this for so long now. And it's like, it's not a surprise that you look at the manager, you look at the manager's production, and I can tell you how the office is going to do based on how that manager is. Like, I don't even need to look at the stats. There's a direct correlation between how successful the team will be tied to how successful the manager is. In like successful being defined as how many accounts is the manager going to do and how many accounts will.
Is that what you're looking for? Okay.
Direct correlation in those two things. So you like the best thing you can do to help your team be successful is to go win up for yourself, and you will bring the people with you. Park, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I love that. I can't remember having done this freaking 8 years now or whatever. I cannot remember a team that was a top team in our company that didn't also have a manager that was best.
Yeah. They go hand in hand, which hopefully excites you, right? You have the power to control that. Now, I do again, there's some contraries here, right? Like the truth is found in like, you got justice and mercy and you find like the sweet spot there, and that's where we live, right? If you're not like the number one rep in your office, what I don't want is you to be like, well, I remember that training and I'm supposed to be, and so I'm going to give me the good air. I got to like the point is to go bring that top producer's mindset. If you have a champion in your office, there's nothing better than developing top reps. I love that. That's a great, we love it when our leaders do that. What we don't want is for a guy to be like, I can sell 150 because I've created a whole bunch of studs, so I don't have to be one. Nothing will erode your leadership and the respect of your people faster than you buying into that lot. So it's way more likely that you will create top producing reps if you are a top producing rep as well. So don't swing the pendulum too far, but I hope we're finding the sweet spot of
Your mom call you?
front bring your people with you. Are we
Breakfast.
getting the right message there? Okay, any comments from some of our veteran guys that have been learning how to do this the last couple summers? Cam, Parker, Tanner, anything you guys wanna add to that?
Yeah, I forgot about it.
My thought with mindset in general is that most of our top producing reps are positive and happy people. And like I've looked in other companies too, like people that do $1 million in personal revenue are also positive and happy people. And it just translates to their reps, it translates to their own doors. It's hard to get those people down. It's hard to shake them. And I guess a high producer mindset is someone that believes in themselves and tells themselves positive things all day. And it's like hard to be defeated, even if you don't sell any. It's like, well, tomorrow I will win even bigger.
But Kim, I mean, of course you're happy, dude, you're killing it,
Right.
right?
Yeah, no, that's a good thing. But like one thing that I've tried to teach my reps at least is like when you get into the office, it's a new day. And that's something I've tried to like help them learn is it's a new opportunity every day.
So I'm kidding, right? The reason Cam's killing it is because he's happy, because he's positive. It's not the other way around. Cam has the right mindset, and because he has the right mindset, success follows. Like success, most people like, I'll be happy when. And that's backwards. Be happy now and you'll create the success that you're looking for. Dog's teasing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Good, making sure everyone knew that. Okay, let's jump into. We got 6 steps. So when we talk about how do you lead from the front and how do you bring your people with you, we've broken this down into 6 sections. And today we'll cover these top 2: emotional leadership and setting expectations. When we do the leadership retreat in a month, we'll cover the final 4 that are a little more technical and more summer specific. These top 2, 100%, you can start applying today. Let's jump into emotional leadership. Similarly to how you sell is how your office will sell. You set the emotional tone for your team as well. How you think, how you feel, how you believe, by and large, will affect how your team thinks and feels. And you will set that tone. See, did I get the Marshall Rosenberg? This guy's a psychologist and author. He's kind of like a precursor to emotional intelligence. He was like in the 60s. He has this quote: "We're dangerous when we are not conscious of our responsibility for how we behave, think, and feel." Why is that dangerous? Take a minute, ponder it. I know it's early. You weren't expecting to come to a natural class and have to think today. Part.
I was just, this is dangerous in a bad way, right?
Yes.
I like, you're like an animal if you don't, like, you know, like animals just kind of operate. They don't think about how they behave or think or feel, right? Like
They just react.
they react. And so like, I think we're the only species that gets to go and do things like this. And so it's like, again, it's like part of our human experience. Like it's what we're here to freaking figure out how to do. And, so dangerous in that, like, do animals do dangerous things? You know, they react. Like their whole thing is like survive. If I gotta go eat this thing or do this really like reckless thing, I'll go do it. So anyway, that was my thought. It's just like human versus animal.
Love that.
I think what I really like about that, and I really like the animal analogy too. I think you become, when you're not thinking about how you behave, think, or feel, you become somebody who's completely like being acted upon, and you're not actually striving or like acting for yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's
I love this idea that like we are responsible for how we think and how we feel and what we do. We get a vote, like that, we get to choose what we think, which then drives how we feel. That's an unpopular, like, truth nowadays. It's way easier to be like, well, this person makes me feel that way. I can't control how I feel. Because if I'm not in control, then I don't have to be responsible. Now it's somebody else's fault. I don't have to do anything about it. Like that's a very common line of thinking in our culture today. And it's a recipe for misery. Because you're not acting for yourself, you're being acted upon. So there's power in this idea that you're responsible, that you have control over. So it's dangerous when we give up that responsibility. Does that make sense?
We're all emotional beings, like, we reflect each other's emotions, like, if one person's in a bad attitude or mood, everyone else is. Like, even just sitting next to Adeline, I'm like, you know, moving my foot like she is, so like.
I love that.
So,
But we're
like-
social creatures that we influence each other.
And so if we're not thinking about how we feel and how we behave, then those people will subconsciously, you know, follow how we act too, like, oh, I just want to sit in my car all day and like, I, you know, just don't feel up to it. Those other people feel the same way too, because you're giving off those feelings. And you need to give off the stronger emotions, like, if, I know it can be hard, but I've got this. And that not only empowers yourself, but it will empower other people.
Love that. That's great. So I like this quote. But I made some modifications. This is quoting me. We're more dangerous when we are conscious of our ability to control how we behave, move, and feel. And I want you to be dangerous. I want you to be capable. There's power when you understand that, like, I am in control of how I think and how I feel and what I do. There's power when I know that I don't feel like getting out and knocking today, and then I recognize that I have the power to choose, and then I go and do it, and that there's power there. That's dangerous. Go be dangerous. Okay. So we talked about this last training, that opposition is normal. It's to be expected, right? Like, we know that there's going to be a price tag. Opposition is necessary for the growth. It's just, if it were easy, everyone would do it and it would pay minimum wage. It's supposed to be hard. That's why it's valuable. That's why we have the amazing opportunity that we have, right? So I know that we covered a bunch of, what are some of the challenges that are going to be coming this summer? Are those still kind of fresh and top of mind? We need to revisit those. You guys know what they are, right? I think we're good there. I just want to remind you again that that opposition is coming, and that opposition is tied directly to emotional leadership, because how you respond to that opposition will make or break your team. So again, another one of my favorite quotes, Viktor Frankl. Does everybody know who he is? We need to educate the rising generation. This guy wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl is a Holocaust survivor. He spent a good part of his life at a concentration camp. And through that experience, he came to understand that he didn't always have control over his circumstances, but no matter how bad things got in that concentration camp, they couldn't take away his ability to choose what he did with those circumstances. He went on to be a super amazing psychologist, and I would highly recommend that book. It's an amazing story. But this is a little bit academic, but I think there's power in it. He says, between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies the growth and the freedom. I would just love to ponder on it and then tell me what your thoughts are on this.
So we were at a baseball game and we were talking about like the job is like kind of at the end of the summer. And we were like all kind of talking about like how like grateful we were to be done. Like this job is hard, it kind of sucks a lot. Right? Like we all do it because it's worth it. But
Yeah.
Cam spoke up. He's like, I actually love knocking. And like, I looked at him, I was just super confused.
I was like, what?
Yeah, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, we're all complaining here, but Cam was literally like, I love knocking. I could tell in his face like he was being genuine. Like he loved the job. And like I think about that every single day, no joke, because I'm like, man, like Cam is like an incredible leader. He like sells super well. And it kind of goes back to that like mindset he talked about, but he's using this power to choose, like, I'm gonna find positives about this. Like, how can I be grateful that I'm doing something hard? And like I get to do this versus working like a 9 to 5, like where I'm making way less. I hate that. And, like working like the 9 to 5, or I get to be out here with my buddies selling. Like he's finding like positives with the job. And that's why he's growing so much as like a leader and a seller. And like it's provided him freedom too. Like now he's not like stressed out. Now he's not like, contemplating like why he does this. It's like, man, I get to be here. I get to do this. And so that's really stuck with me. That's his power he's using to choose that positive mindset.
Love that. Any other thoughts? So if opposition is the stimulus, right? What we do to that, like in response to that opposition, that's our response. I just want you to be aware that there is that space in between. And that in that space, you have an opportunity to choose how you will respond to that opposition. And in that choosing is your opportunity to like do something great or to like throw a grenade in your office's day. You get to pick how you want to respond to that. And learning how to do this well will teach your reps how to respond to opposition as well. Helping them understand that there is that space and they get to choose. What happens typically when opposition or when challenges hits the fan is that like our brains default into fight or flight. And typically when we're in fight or flight mode, we don't make great decisions. I just watched an awesome video of Steve Young interviewing Brock Purdy. He's the quarterback for the 49ers. They didn't win, but his story is still amazing. That's a kid that got drafted very last in the draft. They called him Mr. Irrelevant, and now he's in the Super Bowl. Like right away, like in the next season, it's his story is. But one of the observations that Steve Young made about Brock was that he said when pressure comes in and the outcome like is on the line and like that pressure's high, most people, he said that the way that Steve Young described it is like most human brains shallow out. We get in fight or flight and we start making poor decisions. We don't think clearly. He's like, for whatever reason, like you don't do that. It feels like whenever like for Brock, when the pressure's on and there's more stress, it's like he gets better. He's like, how do you do that? And so there's this interesting conversation about, you can Google that interview. It's worth, there's a lot of great cause and effect lessons to be learned about what he's doing right. But it's yeah, go ahead.
Luke just sent me a text that I think is super cool. I asked if I could share it.
Please do.
I think it's just like so in line with what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna read it because it's just staying good. He said, going along with what Gabe is talking about, I've been going to therapy this year, and one thing that I've learned that I love is that we need to have an offensive strategy to negative situations. Instead of just trying to play defense when they come. We need to have some sort of saying or action that we do that helps us attack the negative situations instead of just trying to survive and defend against them when they come.
I love that. That's exactly why we're having this training and why we're spending so much time on this topic of emotional leadership, is we know that opposition is coming and there's going to be challenges. And I'm hoping to give you some offensive strategies so that you're better equipped to deal with this so that we can respond in the right way. Does that make sense? So with that in mind, this is from Daniel Goleman. He's the author of Emotional Intelligence. In fact, we will post, I would recommend that book as well, but if you don't have time for the book, because I know you guys are all busy students and you're recruiting lights out, I've got like a little one-page article that he wrote that just kind of highlights these 4 skills from emotional intelligence. But he says the first step in emotional intelligence is being self-aware. What that means specifically to emotional intelligence is do you understand what you're feeling? Can you self-identify, this is how I'm feeling, and maybe this is why, or this is how I'm thinking about it? Right, like, so can you identify, are you oblivious to your own feelings and how those feelings are controlling and driving your thoughts? Can you identify when maybe you're in fight or flight mode? You recognize that maybe I'm not being rational right now, that my emotions are taking over, right? And the second step in this is self-management, where you can start to like, you can identify and be self-aware, can you start to manage those feelings and to put yourself into a more emotionally balanced state. So that's step two. Once you can do that for yourself, the next step is are you able to be socially aware? Can I identify the emotional state of my team? Can I tell when maybe they're in a fight or flight mode, when they're making irrational or emotional decisions that aren't in congruency, like with where they actually want to go? And then the last piece is then relationship management. And I love this quote. He says, when crisis strikes, and crisis being like any opposition, right? When you're like, project, whatever, like when crisis strikes, it is essential to manage many relationships among many people. I call relationship management friendliness with a purpose. The ability through inspiring others, managing conflicts, fostering teamwork, and other competencies to move people in the direction that you desire. And I love when Parker was a manager in Washington, he was in Tri-Cities, his office was killing it. They had a really good plan for how they were going to be managing the area. And everything was going super smooth until the city kicked him out of where they were at. And he found out that a place where he was told didn't need permits actually, in fact, needed permits. And so he had a whole team of guys that were supposed to be in this place and they'd been everywhere else that was close, and he had to pivot. So he was able to manage multiple relationships, the temperature of his team. He had to work with the service manager to line up technicians to make sure that we could get accounts serviced in a new place. There was a fair amount of relationship managing that was going on. And they went to they pivoted midday and went to a new market half an hour down the road, and had their best day of the sun. And guys were stoked, and you know how people emotionally are tied to area, right? Oh, we just had this good day, it must be the area, let's go back. Well, the branch was like, you guys just demolished that, and we don't have room for any more accounts in that little town. Like, we literally can't service anymore. So you have to go someplace else tomorrow. So I just want you to pause for a second and think about what we've been talking about now. How's your emotional intelligence? How is your ability to lead and control the emotions of a team? How do you respond in that moment? And then how do you take your response and then transfer that to your team? Like, and honestly, like, your probably initial feelings are like, I'm pissed, right? I'm frustrated. What's wrong with the branch? Like, it's not my job to like put them where you want them. My job is to get the accounts. Like, there's a lot of different like emotional responses that are very counterproductive that you have initially spiked, right? So then you have the emotional intelligence, because you can fight with your service manager or with the branch, but like at the end of the day, like it's not productive. Or you can problem solve and pivot and then create a plan and then take that plan to your team and do what Park did, which was the next day go to a new area and beat the day they'd had the day before and did even better. And showed the team that it didn't have anything to do with the area, that it was all about the team and the way that they were responding to the opposition. Does that make sense? Does that give you maybe some practical application of what that looks like in real time? You will have opportunities to do this over and over and over. Again, I just want to give you like that precursor that those challenges will come. And ultimately, like what you do with those challenges will make or break the team. So please be aware now of starting to develop. And not you're here because you already have good emotional intelligence, but one of the cool things about emotional intelligence is that we can improve. It's not like your IQ where you're stuck. Whatever God gave you on the smarts thing, that's where you're stuck with it, and you can't, no matter how hard you study, like IQ's fixed. Emotional intelligence is not. You can get better at it. You can train your brain so that when you have that space, that you can choose and choose better. All right.
I wanted to ask Parker if you could ask Luke, like what some examples are of offensive sayings that we can say to ourselves, like in those times.
Yeah, I like that.
I could give
Will
you
you
one.
see if Luke just heard that?
Yeah.
And then we can
Probably just heard that.
Yes, so, you guys know Extreme Ownership, it's another book that we talk a lot about, Jocko Willink, how Navy SEALs lead and win. One of his sayings is, in fact, I wanna get the shirt, it just says good.
Yeah.
But that's his saying, right, when crap hits the fan, he's like, good, and in fact,
There's a video that's.
I'll
so
I'll
awesome.
send the link out to his video, cause I'll butcher it, and the way that he explains it is so much better, but he's like mission got canceled, good, like we've got more time to prepare, like, I mean, you name it, like, whatever the crap is that hits the fan, he's like, I got injured, good, I can work on rehabbing the rest of my body, like, or I can focus on my mind, like, this went wrong, like, it's raining, good, no one else is gonna be on their floor, people are gonna be home today, like, whatever the situation is, Jocko says good, and he finds a reason why he's going to win regardless. And I think that's a great, one of those mental exercises of when the opposition hits, your first response is good. And then find a reason why.
It's actually cool. I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast a couple days ago, and he actually talked about that. They were talking about like adversity and this like kind of topic, like just managing your emotions and stuff. And he literally said, he said, you know, the video that I think about when this crap happens is that Jocko video where it's just like, anyway, it's like crazy that 2 days later you share that.
How many of you guys know that video?
It's a pretty cool video.
Okay. Enough that we won't pull it up, but like, if you don't know it, you should. Maybe we should pull it up. We'll do a break and then, we'll leave it in on that note today, because but that's a great phrase.
It's
And
just
those are
so,
the
it's so
kind of-
cool because like it just you're telling your brain like lean into it.
Yeah,
Like sweet, this is part of my deal here. Like this is what I'm supposed to, this will make me weaker or stronger, and I'm like grateful for a chance to get stronger because that's what it's all about.
that's right.
So it's like good, sweet, bring it on, let's do it. This sucks, but good.
Okay, we're gonna put, so hopefully we taught some good principles that you can apply to a broad setting. We're gonna dive into a little more granular application of some of the things that we've been talking about now. So a couple of things that we want you to do, please keep your commitments. Like as a manager, you're gonna get pulled a lot of different directions, and it's important that you do what you tell your people that you will do. Kind of tied to this is be careful making commitments, like don't make commitments that you can't keep. Right, so like if you tell someone that you're gonna train with them, like then train with them. If you say that you're gonna come in and work early with them, like work early with them. Like if you're gonna, whatever it is that you're committing to for your team, make sure that you keep those commitments. This is a contrary, right? Be relatable, but unshakenly positive. So again, it's important that you're creating the right attitude and the right energy. When we say relatable, there's a balance right there. Like if it's like Pollyanna and like there are legitimate adversity and you're not being empathetic to what your reps are going through, and it's just like it's all sunshine and rainbows. Like everything is awesome. Like that doesn't necessarily work either, right? Like you got to be real. But and then it's like, yeah, this is tough and good because now we can get better. Does that balance make sense there? Pay attention to the attitudes of your people. Again, that comes directly back to being that social awareness. What's the temperature, the emotional temperature of your team? And how are they doing it? And are you aware of it? And then be intentional about it. I think sometimes it's like, oh, my guys are burnt out, but I'm gonna put my head in the sand because I don't know what to do about it. Like my guys, like maybe we need to have like a come to Jesus correlation where we need to reset some expectations. Or maybe we need to have a pool correlation because the guys are like, it's gotten a little bit too intense and too serious. We need to ease up a little bit. Like there's a place for both of those management strategies. Maybe we need to change some car groups up because like the current mix isn't working and it's maybe getting toxic or guys are getting too comfortable. So they aren't holding each other accountable. We need to shake it up a little bit.
To me, this is a perfect example of playing offense with emotional leadership within your team, you know?
Yes.
Like some kids they are struggling and they're having a hard time managing their emotions. So as the leader, you can stack the deck in your favor. Like putting 2 or 3 reps that are really struggling all in one car group, like that's like a grenade, you know, it's like, let's spread the grenades out and put like a Camchini in every car group and, you know, this little happy juice will rub off on that kid, you know, like.
Well,
That's important, like that's an offense play
Yes.
to help with the emotional vibes of the team. 'Cause if you're just playing defense and reacting, like it, yeah, it's difficult.
We're gonna talk about, kind of buddy versus boss a little bit, but that's a place where also it's like, if you're gonna be intentional with a car group, for example, because you have a group of guys that are maybe struggling, or you have like some cancer, like, if you, I mean, I've seen it where you have like a rep that is like hard to work with, and so he's getting bounced around from car group to car group, and he doesn't know why he's getting bounced. And so he's frustrated and he's feeling alienated, and it's like, we could have stopped this months ago by having a candid conversation that like, dude, you're wearing people out because you're negative. And they don't like riding with you because you're high maintenance, or like, this is the issue and you need to make some adjustments so that people want to be in your car group with you. Like, so not necessarily just bouncing, spreading out that load that's part of the solution, and I love the proactivity to it. There needs to be some actual management there, where we're addressing, like, again, I'm identifying the social piece there, but then I've got to go manage the relationship. Friendliness with intention, right? I'm gonna go have a difficult conversation about. So I guess ultimately, like, yes, pay attention to the attitudes of your people and of the team, but then also don't be afraid to engage with those people to change those attitudes and to improve them. Is that fair? Carter?
How would you suggest like going about that? I feel like I've had an experience with that, and I tried approaching somebody that was having like super negative emotions and affecting everyone else. But like they didn't really change. So how do you go about
Sure.
like
I'm gonna pause
bringing
that.
it up with them?
In 20 minutes, we're gonna answer that question. And if I don't, remind me, make sure we get it answered by the end of the day. Okay. But we're gonna get there. Okay, back to another control the message, right? Build confidence in the company and what they're doing. I think it's important, and that's twofold. So sometimes that might be the company as in like point marketing, right? Where like, we're human beings and we're not perfect, and human error happens. And I think that we have a high level of trust that you know that we want to do right by our people. We're committed to delivering for you. But that doesn't mean we do it perfect every time. And being able to convey that trust to your people when we do make mistakes. But more often, this is going to be with the branch, where everyone in a branch has a full-time job that they do year-round anyway. And then we come in the summer and like double the number of accounts that they have in 4 months and cause all kinds of chaos in their lives. And there could be some challenges in doing what we do. And it can be hard on the people that are there trying to help make that go. And it's easy sometimes to get frustrated at technicians or at to just say, oh, this, the service company. You got to understand as leaders, first year reps, like the key to all selling is believing in what, like the first foundation is, do I believe in what I'm selling? And if we're as managers that are interfacing at a deeper level with the branch or frustrated with our branch, we can inadvertently destroy our reps' confidence in the product that they're selling. Super, like psychologically damaging their ability to go effectively sell. So we've got to control the message and be careful about, it's okay to have those challenges, but if you're frustrated or you're working out issues with the technician, with the branch, you want to go vent that to your team and erode their confidence, right? Anyone have any experience on this that need to be addressed?
I think part of this too is, I don't know how many of you guys as leaders have gotten this from your reps, but I think at least over the last couple of years, every rep at some point in the summer has come to me and said, hey, what was your favorite market to knock in? And regardless of what my thought was, or the experiences I've had in the past, I always say the market that I'm in currently.
Yes.
I think that there's power in that your reps will believe more in themselves and in the market that they're in. If you said, oh yeah, like Missouri, that was my favorite market, even though you're in Oklahoma, it's like, it's gonna erode confidence in where you're at, right? So
Yes.
that's just one thought.
That's a great example of again controlling that message, right? And it's also an amazing example of having a top producer mindset. My favorite area is the area I'm selling in right now. 'Cause this is the place where I'm making money. That's a great way to respond to that. Thank you for sharing that. Any other thoughts on this? Okay. If you need to vent, and it's likely that you will, please vent upward. Meaning like primarily, like if you're a team lead or a junior manager, take it to your manager. And if you're the senior manager of your office, take it to Parker or take it to me. More than likely it'll be Parker. But I'm happy to take those calls too. Please, like the converse of this is what we're gonna talk about is please don't vent horizontally or vent down. For the same things that we just talked about earlier, you will destroy the confidence of your reps. And additional stress in them that's so counterproductive, that makes it way harder for them to go do what they need to do to be successful. So it's super normal to have challenges and frustrations and to need to be able to vent. Please, when that happens, make sure that it's going in the right direction. Because it's easier and it's way more natural, like because you're working with these people every day and they're your buddies, to be able to just be like, oh man, I'm so frustrated at blah, 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 and to just let it out. That's gonna feel supernatural. And as a leader, you have to have the discipline not to let that, because it's super toxic. Any comments or questions on this one? Okay. Spend quality time off the doors with your people, which I know that in the summer, it's like, when am I not on the doors, right? And for those of you that are married, I know that those Sundays can be, those are sacred days for multiple reasons. We'll talk more about this next month, but even like Saturday nights, like those dinner goals, like you need to be intentional about creating opportunities. The only time your reps are seeing you is when it's like manager mode. Your ability to influence something can get eroded. And so there needs to be opportunities for you and then also for your team to have a little bit of like quality time that's outside of just work and production. Comments or questions, tips on this one from guys that have done this well in the past?
I think the teams that sell the best are the ones that are like unified.
Yeah.
So it's kind of your job to, again, lead from the front on this one. Like your reps might get together and hang out, but if you're the one actively, like proactively trying to make it happen, it's more likely that it's gonna happen.
Yeah, like you think about like in the professional sports world, the championship teams have good chemistry. Like they play well together. There's things that are going on outside of what's on the court that make it so that when they are on the court, like they're in sync and they work well together. They compete well together. And typically that chemistry doesn't just happen magically. There's some intentionality behind it. And as the leader of your office, you want to be intentional about creating that kind of chemistry for your team. Any other thoughts or best practices on this?
Well, I feel like it's easy to say like, oh, well, I guess it's not easy to say to spend quality time off the doors, but I feel like it also ties into keep commitments. Like if you make a plan and the majority of the team doesn't want to show up, like still keep the plan. Don't just like fall through, because there are going to be a few reps that still want to do the activity or like spend time with other people, even though the majority of the team doesn't. And just by doing that, everyone's just gonna eventually come around, I feel like. So
Love that. I'm not planning on sharing this experience, but you sparked something that I think will be helpful. A few years ago, our family had well, Amy and I had the opportunity to be a ma and a pa for a stake trek. And we were, dressed up as pioneers and pulling hand carts out near Central Utah somewhere. And it was hard. It's like, it was physically and emotionally demanding. We're taking care of these teenage, our family of teenage kids that were assigned to us. And like, we got to like simulate Rocky Ridge, and we pulled that freaking handcart. One of the guys almost had a heart attack that was on, like the uncle that was there to help us. Like, it was pretty intense. And we finally got to our next like campground.
Wait, did Shalini cancel?
I was.
Did Shalini cancel or no? Still coming? Okay, so we have till 11.
And we
Okay.
had this fireside that we went to, and then at the end of the fireside, there was gonna be this like square dance thing. And candidly, I was so pissed. I was like, I didn't have the best attitude in that moment, right? I was needing to learn some emotional intelligence, I guess, but I was just like, who in the world planned like this dance at the end of the day that we just had this super long hike up Rocky Ridge? Like, that was like the worst plan yet. I was so mad. So I was tired, right? And so we went to this fireside, and my wife is amazing, was like, come on, and it's the idea, like, we're the mom and pop, we gotta set a good example for our kids, because they're too chicken to go dance with anybody, and so we gotta show them that it's fun. And so we started dancing, and we had this like amazing guy that came out, and he was like calling these dances, and they were teaching us how to do it, and we start like moving our bodies and doing fun. And at the end of that dance, I was like energized. And like, I felt so good, and like a million times better than I did before we started. And it was like this weird, like, I'm like, oh, somebody knew what they were doing after all, right? Like, I'm an idiot. Like, there's a place for like recreation, that recreation that happens in getting out of like the grind of what we've been doing every day. And I'm, laser focused on like, we got X more miles, and I gotta conserve my energy, and I'm tired, and we gotta get our kids up to the next place the next day. And to be able to put all those things aside for a little bit and to mentally just reset and go have fun was really powerful. And there's a place for that in the summer. And sometimes I think as managers, we can get really focused on like, here's the goal and here's the number, and we gotta go grind it out. And we gotta pay the price, and we gotta do the hard part of it. There is a place for spending that quality time off the doors to allow your team to. I think that's true at a personal level. And that's true at an office level. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. Last one is breathe belief into the office. So we've taught this before, but let's see if it's sticking. What's the most important sell of the day? Yourself, right? You've got to be sold on what you're doing and the opportunity. And what's the second most important sell of the day?
Your team.
Your team. And the reason we do correlation every day is so that you have an opportunity to breathe belief in them and to resell them and what they can accomplish and how good the opportunity is and what's possible, so that they have the belief to go do it another day. Because we all know, like, sometimes the summer can be grinding, and it's easy to start to get worn out and then start to doubt, like, can I really do this, and can I do it at the level that I thought I could when I set my goal? Like, is it possible still? And every day you have an opportunity to bring belief back into you. So those are the dues of our emotional leadership. Any other comments or questions or thoughts on some of the more specific tactical, these are things that you should be doing on a regular basis as a leader?
I love number 7 because you can tailor that towards specific people that are struggling. Like especially midway through the summer, you'll find out whether people are either like super money motivated or goal motivated. And so sometimes I'll have a sit down one-on-one or maybe like 3-on-1 with some reps that are struggling. I'm like, dude, look at what you've accomplished. Like, you have done so much. And the people that are money motivated, I'm like, dude, let's do an opportunity cost right now. Like, how much have you made and where do you want to go? And they're like, oh wow, like I already made 3 times what I would have made at Toyota. I'm like, cool, now let's triple that and let's keep going.
Yes.
And sometimes that motivates them even more than the whole like, I believe in you guys, I really do. And then there's obviously some people that really do need this is an amazing opportunity, you're blessed to be here. So number 7 is really tailored towards the people you're speaking to. If we're always just like
this is an amazing opportunity, gratitude. Some guys just don't feed off of that, and so it's definitely catered.
To do this well, you need to be doing this well. You gotta know the attitudes of your people, and candidly, those can change through the summer.
Yeah.
Where like what was motivating in June isn't in July sometimes.
Right.
And you gotta be able to pivot as a manager and to be able to be paying attention to how those attitudes shift.
I think you can also learn a lot from the leaders of other markets too.
Yeah.
So for example, a couple of years ago, Cam started shouting out his reps on Sunday for things that they did well that week. And there was part of me that was like, man, why didn't I think of that? I was so resentful. I'm like, man, I thought I was a good leader. And then I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna humble myself and I'm just gonna do that same thing. And it works super, super well. So I would just recommend, like, if you see the leaders of other teams doing something well, like, humble yourself and just like try to learn from their experience.
100%, and take from the best, leave the rest. That's the name of the game. I love that. Thanks for that input, you guys. Let's just do some quick, this is fast, but there's 4 things that we just want to make sure don't happen that will kill. So we've already talked about the first one. Do not vent down. We don't talk negatively about anything in Jordan. Right? Now, if they're venting, we can acknowledge that and be empathetic, but we're not the ones that are instigating that. Don't be a hypocrite. This is the park thing, right? Like, if you're telling your team that they need to be selling early and selling late, and you're just only coming between that, a certain window, like, guys, figure that out really quick. You know, I mean, you would be amazed at the level of craziness that we've seen managers try to do and wonder why their team's not following anymore. And it's like, well, dude, like, if you say one thing and are doing something different, if you're holding guys accountable to a standard that you're not following yourself, you will kill your leadership. Like, it doesn't matter what title we give you or what your job offer says, like, your team will not follow. So you can't be good. Be careful about separating into cliques. We recognize that, because recruiting is a people game, and a lot of the people that are with you are following you specifically, that it's natural to maybe have relationships that are stronger than others. Really important that you're strong enough to be able to be as inclusive as possible within your team, and that you're connecting people, not separating. So you gotta be intentional about that. And then the last one is, please be mindful. Don't give or appear to give yourself special treatment. If your office perceives that the only reason you're winning is because you're stacking the deck in your favor in a way that they don't have, then your ability to create that belief and to show them that it's possible is done. And they'll be resentful because they'll feel like you're more interested in your success than they are in theirs. That can be super, super toxic. And it can be, man, I've seen this where it was super well-intentioned, where 2 managers partnered up and they were like, hey, there's this new area, we want to check it out before we send our whole team there. They went up and had this awesome day, and then the perception of the team was, oh, our managers went to the Good Hood and they sent us down someplace else, and they were pissed. And so you've got to be really careful about not just doing it, but also the appearance of doing it, and what are the optics of the decisions that you're making.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, number 4, right, if there's a rep on your team that's complaining about their area, or say they have bad hood, and nothing can be more powerful for your team to take that, go sell there, kill it in that area, and show everybody that there was nothing to it, right? So give yourself the worst sometimes, and show that the worst is also something that you can have success in. And then no one has any excuses.
Thanks, Dan. Mark, anything that you want to add to the emotional leadership piece?
I think so. I think this is there's a lot to this. There's a lot of these steps. So this is the how-to, you know? So all this stuff adds up. It's all important. I like that we have a playbook here because it's a big topic. There's a lot to it. So, but no, I love it. It's been good.
Yeah, I guess just to close out this topic, the do's and the don'ts, these have been learned through Hard Knocks, positively and negatively. And when we say like, don't do those things, it's because someone's done it. Don't be that guy, right? Like, please don't be that leader, but, it's like, no, I'm gonna do it my way, like, these things will absolutely destroy your ability to lead, to drive production, and to repeat teams. So learn from past people's experience and mistakes and do it better than they did. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll meet back in 5 and then we'll probably hit it hard for another 30 minutes and call it a good day. Okay, I know Park said our goal was 2 hours. That means I got 20 minutes. Probably not gonna happen, to be really honest, but I'm gonna try to get everything packed in the next 30. Since we started a little late, we're waiting for Parker. Okay.
Daddy got a bloody nose this morning, so. First time in my life.
Are you serious?
Only once. Yeah. Weird, huh?
You guys give me bloody noses every time I do it. So dry. That's why I'm so surprised. Like, it's like a weekly occurrence. We digress. We only have 20 minutes. Let's get to it. Okay, we're gonna talk about, so this is the second step of those 6, right? That will help you lead from the front and bring your people with you. Step 2 is set and hold expectations. So this is at least a key to great leadership. Any thoughts on why? Why is setting and holding expectations so important for you as a leader?
Maintains respect for one another.
Tell me about it. I
I
agree, but
like,
elaborate.
I think there's like an equal level of respect, not that you as a leader should be respected more than you respect others, but when you set good expectations with people, it says like, I'm here to love you and also push you. And so I'm holding to that standard, which means like if you want to achieve your goals, like there's this expectation and like, yeah, it's clear, like for me, it's just like respect goes both ways. You gotta respect your expectations and others.
I love that. Other thoughts? Yes.
If you don't know, like, if there's no expectation, you don't know what to do. Or like,
Yes.
especially like for me, I have never done this before, obviously, last year. And so I didn't have any expectation of if I would be good or not, or whatever. But then, like, my managers, as I like started to sell over, they're like, oh, you can totally be in the top 10. I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. But then, like, as you hear other people's expectations, it raises your confidence because they think you're good enough to kind of set that goal for you. And then you want to get there and even go past it.
Love that. Yeah, I love that when we talk, so in this case, like expectations of like, I expect that you can be amazing. But I expect that you're gonna win here. And that's tied to what we were talking about with like reading the lead, casting vision. Jackson.
So she mentioned like, when you listen to other people's expectations, it helps you grow yours.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what we should go into it with, is if you hold your expectations, your reps are gonna see your expectations, and it's gonna give them kind of an idea of what they should be striving to push for.
I love that. Thank you. I was on a recruiting call yesterday and this rep's perception of what we do was very interesting. And he said something to me that in essence was like, well, it's just like the luck of each door. What do you guys think about that concept? Just get lucky? Like if someone wins it in the summer, is it because they lucked out and got the right area, or they lucked out and found somebody that wanted to buy today? Is that how we do what we do?
I'd say luck is if they like came to your door. You know,
Does that ever happen to you?
I still think you need to make the effort to go.
Yeah, Karen.
I've heard a saying, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
And so I think, I mean, yeah, it does seem like sometimes people at the top, they're like, dang, you got a lucky door, you know, but they're working the hardest too.
Yeah.
So like, you gotta create your luck.
So the reason I bring that up, right, is that what we do here has nothing to do with luck. Like, we've been doing this for a very long time, and we create very predictable results. We know with certainty that if the right rep plugs into our program and does what we ask them to do, that they will win. There's the predictable response is high probability that if you just plug into the system, that the system absolutely works when you work it. Do you guys all believe that? Do you agree with that? There's a process, there's a method to our madness. And when we set expectations, what we're doing is teaching our people, this is the process that will give you the results that you're looking for. This is what it takes in order to win here.
Yeah, I think it was you that came last summer to one of our meetings that you told us that luck is, or Karen said it, it might have been you guys. That luck is the opportunity to take what you have and to complete it and to seal the deal yourself. And that the luck isn't just luck, but it's the opportunity to accomplish these goals.
Love that. That's great. So again, I just want to highlight that like when we set expectations for an office, what we're doing is this is the recipe to win here. This is the structure that is required in order to be successful. And so it's our job as managers to teach those expectations, to create those expectations, so they do know what they're supposed to do. They know this is what a rep does, and if I do this, then I can expect to win. And then once we set the expectation, it's our job to hold that line, because we know that if we don't, if they deviate from those expectations, every time they deviate, the likelihood, the probability of getting that predictable outcome decreases. Right? Does that?
It's like what we were talking about last night with dinner goals. Like if you just start giving away dinner goals, it's extremely damaging to the culture of your team. Because if they don't see that there's no accountability there, then dinner goals pointless anyway. Stop doing it.
Love it. Okay, 4 steps to setting as a team expectations for your office. So the first one, so this is like day 1, maybe week 1 of your office. Everyone's together. We're gonna get, I'm the manager, you guys are my team, and it's like, guys, this is gonna be an amazing summer, and I know you all have your individual goals, but collectively as a team, we have a goal, like whether we all added up or whatever it is, but we have a number that we're trying to accomplish as a team this year. And so we're gonna talk about what are their individual goals and what is our goal as an office this summer. And then step 2 is, let's talk about as a team, it's gonna be a collaborative effort. What are the expectations that need to be set in order for us as a team to make this goal a reality? And it's important, like, this is different than you just coming in at the beginning of the day and be like, guys, welcome to the summer and here's the rules. Can you see the difference between like this approach versus that approach? And if you see it, what are the differences between those 2 ways of setting expectations?
Really setting like, obviously there's like important rules to follow, but like coming out and just saying, hey, here are the rules compared to like, compared to the, other state bid. That's more like an hourly mindset than just like I'm coming here and working hard. I'm gonna work my hardest mindset.
Love that. There's a little bit of like maybe ownership when you let them identify the goal and then help them come up with this is the plan in order to reach that goal. Parker.
Yeah, typically people just don't like to be told what to do, and so people become very apprehensive to like a rule book. But if you can, as a manager, like coach them into setting their own rules, then they're more like intrinsically they want to believe what they said or follow what they said, so they're more opportune to do that.
Yeah, there's power in buy-in, right? When the teams as a team decides this is what we will and what we won't.
You're also gonna have to guide your team through this though, like, just because you're not telling them, here's the rules, you. Like,
lead the
Emily's
discussion,
point-
right?
Emily's point, they're like, bro, I don't know what we're gonna do. I just got roped into this thing, so you have to, I like to rely, if I'm managing a team, I like to rely on my veterans and my team leads to kind of like lead that discussion. And it's helpful for the rookies to see other people, not me necessarily list all of them out, but like get that buy-in from the team. And that, in a lot of cases, that's why it's important that every team has, 5 to 7 really good, strong veteran sellers that can kind of help with that discussion. You're also gonna have this discussion a lot. Like there's a rolling start to every team. And if you just do this one time, you might get 30% of your team that hears this. So you're gonna do this kind of repetitively for the first, maybe once every couple of days for the first month of the summer. To continue to get buy-in from the team on that.
And I know that some managers are like, oh, we've already had this conversation. Like, I think it's powerful when you can let the rest of the team share the expectations. Like, that's way more powerful when you have a new crew of reps that are showing up, but the office explains, here's our expectations and here's the consequences that we decided as a team, rather than the manager being the one that's like, hey, here's the rules, right? Like, there's an opportunity there. But it is a discussion, and as the leader, you are going to facilitate it, and you'll frame it using our 3 keys to success, or our 3 pillars. So we're gonna talk about, and there's a price to be paid, there's work ethic, there's attitude, and there's skill set that needs to be created here. What are our expectations with work ethic? What are our expectations with skill set? What are our expectations with attitude? So you'll give your team a framework to kind of build around. And then as you and your veterans kind of frame simple things like, 8 hours on the doors, or don't come late to correlation, or, all the things that create the framework of an office, it's good to let your team have some buy-in on, right, well, okay, so we all agree that we don't want to waste each other's time, so we're gonna all be on time to correlation. What's the consequence if we don't? And let your team, and you'll find that you'll probably be like pulling your team back, because what they are going to say is like the punishment, it usually will be way worse than what you actually will want to be doing, right? But like, that's good, but how about $5 instead of 50, right? Like, at least that's been my experience. So sometimes it's going to be some of the team can be overzealous, but that's good, right? But you want that buy-in so that it's, as a team, we're agreeing to, here's the standard and here's the consequence when we as a team don't what we said we were going to. So again, that's 3rd step, is identify those consequences if not. And then 4th, as a manager, and this is probably one of the more challenges, you have to hold the line. The reality is that it doesn't matter what you write on the board as your expectations. The real expectation for your office is what you allow. I'm going to say that one more time. The real expectation in your office is whatever it is that you allow. It doesn't really matter what you say. So if you set an expectation that you are on time for correlation, and then guys come late and nothing happens, what's the new expectation? That you're gonna, by default, the guys start coming late, right? That's true for car groups. That's true for hours knocked. It's true for every expectation that you set. Whatever it is that you set, you have to hold the line and be true to these consequences. Comments or questions on that? Okay, you have some flexibility within your own offices to create your own culture and to, what works for you guys. But there is some non-negotiables, right? So on the work ethics, we expect that the company that in all of our offices that we start correlations on time, and we want guys out of the office by 12. This is a place that I think we can improve on. And I haven't been to all the offices last summer, but in the offices that I did see, there did feel like there was this like, let's do correlation, and then we're gonna hang out and do lunch and play ping pong and like have a party, and like you want your correlations to be like the switch that like shoots guys out of the cannon, so they're racing to the doors to take that momentum to go sell. And so we want everybody out on the office headed to their area by 12. 7 to 8 hours on the doors. Any reason why do we say 7 to 8? Why is there some variance in that expectation? When would 7 be appropriate instead of 8 in any given day of time on the doors? Jorge.
You're an hour away from there, yeah.
You have to drive that far, right? So what happens if I'm 5 minutes from my area? then we get 9 hours on the doors, right? Like, there's this weird thing where it's like, if you started by driving, and so it's like, oh, we gotta hurry and get out, and that all of a sudden you're used to starting at like 1, because it took you an hour to get there. That when you're 5 minutes, the guys are like, sweet, I got an hour before I have to start knocking. That's crazy thinking, that hopefully you as managers can smash this year. Right, so the reason that it's 7 to 8 is we understand that there are going to be circumstances when there is some drive time. But the mindset of this is, how can we get as many doors knocked in a day as possible? Not like, what's the minimum that I can get away with? Is there, Park, did you have a?
Yeah, I think you hit on it. I just like I've become a student this offseason of just like listening to podcasts and reps in our industry that are doing like really, really special things. And I think that's just like the biggest thing that I've noticed is the temptation sometimes in our industry is because we're doing a hard job. It's like, bro, I'm already in the trenches doing this gnarly thing. Like, I'm gonna 1 to 9 is like sufficient. Like, I'm already suffering. Like, I'm not gonna kill myself. But I think the people that just dominate, it's their mindset is like, whatever's on the table, I want to go get it. So if I can get 8, I'm gonna go get 8. I get 9, I'm gonna go get 9 because it's on the table and it's available. So it's this shift from like, what's the least that I can do with still being on this team and like having respect from my teammates to like, how do I go maximize this opportunity?
Not everyone in your team is going to understand that mindset, but I hope that you have it and that you're instilling it within your individual organizations. Like, how do I maximize this opportunity? Enough said on that. And then the third one on the work ethic is posting numbers daily. There has to be a cadence of accountability within your teams. So like that, them being responsible to post is how you hold your people accountable.
And we're moving to digital trackers this year, so we're gonna make sure everybody has that. But everyone will be able to jump on and fill that out at night.
We'll roll that out and give you the details on it at our next training.
I was just wondering, is there gonna be like a doors knocker, like customizable?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not,
we'll
it won't be
talk to the
customized, we're
managers
gonna
and
set the indicators, but
those KPIs.
we have a pretty good idea of the KPIs that we want to be tracking.
Figure out a way to project it or like get it on a screen, because you're not gonna have a whiteboard, so we'll just need to make sure you're prepared for that.
Are we not doing I thought we were just gonna do both.
Oh, you can do both.
Well, the board, we're still gonna do our,
Well, hey, we don't have time for this today, but we will talk about it. But
I
just,
wanna do both, so.
the point is, we'll talk about it later. Sorry. The point is that we'll be posting numbers daily. Whether it's digital on a whiteboard is irrelevant. The principle is we want to hold our people accountable. Don't get caught up in the details right now. Okay, from a mindset standpoint, no negativity. We need to set that expectation within the office, within our car groups, and within the apartment. That if it's company space, right, if it's where reps are congregated, that there is an expectation that we're not negative. We get enough no's and negativity on the doors, we don't need it from our own team. You have to set that expectation and then hold it accountable. And then of course, like being attentive in meetings, there's no point. Correlations are meant to motivate and train, and if guys are sleeping or geeking off on their phones, then they're not getting motivated or trained, right? So if they're so good that they don't need to be paying attention, then they need to be out knocking. And if they're not out knocking and they're not paying attention to correlation, then we got problems that need to be addressed. And that's again, an expectation that you need to be holding guys accountable to. From a production standpoint, like there's an expectation that we sell every day. If we don't sell, what's the consequence? ET. Why?
So that you do so.
So that you can sell. Is ET a punishment? No, the punishment was you knocked all day yesterday and didn't get a sale. That's punishing enough, right? That's brutal. ET is meant to make sure that doesn't happen again. Like, that's why we do ET. So I sometimes I feel like there's this like, oh, you didn't sell, you gotta come to ET. It's like, no, man, like, I'm so sorry you didn't sell. Like, let's get you to ET so we can fix that, because I don't want that ever happen to you again. That's the mindset of ET. So we create sales every day, and then we also have and I hope that there's an expectation and that we're serious about it. Whatever your best week was last week, like this week should be better. And unless you're like, rocking like 35 a week, then maybe we can be okay with you flatlining. But if you're not doing 35 a week, then you should be pushing to be getting better every single day. That's the expectation. Any question on the non-negotiables? Do those seem reasonable? Do those feel like the right foundation for us to be able to plug people into and know that if they'll do this, they'll win? Awesome. Okay. Let's talk about just some basic principles, right? So buddy versus boss, you need to have a relationship. Your people need to know that you care. There's the old adage, right? People don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. There's gotta be that people aspect of leadership. And you also need to be able to hold the line and to be the boss. And in order for your team, for you to do your job effectively, you have to be able to correct. And one just simple basic principle with that, like sales, like just leadership 101 is we praise in public and we reprimand or we correct in private. Why is that?
Yeah, sometimes it just can be a sensitive topic, like if the individual's being super negative, like calling them out in front of everybody, my own team is negative. And so some of it is just people are sensitive to their weaknesses, and as a leader, if you're talking to somebody about their weaknesses, like you have to be understanding of that and sensitive to that, so that happens in private.
Yeah. So tell me what that looks like in real time. So you got a rep that needs some correction. They're rolling the correlation sometime between ET and 11. When does this happen?
I think a good opportunity that I've found is putting them in my card group for the day, and then intentionally like kind of dropping everyone off for them, and then having that like 5 to 10 minutes to just kind of chat. Chat before you drop them off on the doors. It also happen, in the evenings, like a lot of times as manager, you're gonna be talking to your reps at the end of the day, about other things, and you could shoot them calls or whatever.
We have leadership cores right within our office, and so oftentimes it would be appropriate also, like if someone's taking correlation, that you pull somebody out into like a, chemical closet in a pest branch and have a conversation, right? And talk about it and work it out. Like that might be a better use of that 11 to 12 time for them than just sitting in correlation and still being whatever they are that needs to be corrected. Yeah. So those are all options there. Are there any exceptions to this guideline?
I think if it's gonna be detrimental to the team, yeah, it's like a net positive to. Why he's smiling?
That one kid with the skateboard.
Oh, yeah, that was bad.
Was that in Oregon?
Yeah.
There was a kid that was super negative. He just was not a team player, and like everybody on the team knew he was like super toxic.
Yeah.
And it was actually good that Parker like basically fired him right there on the spot.
Yeah, like let him go in front of the whole team.
If something's happening on the team that everyone's aware.
Dude, everyone hated him. It wasn't like.
Like if your culture's being damaged, right? Sometimes they need to see that you're doing something about it, right?
Yeah. So that's that's the expectation, right? Is Parker's, Elison is right, that generally the whole purpose of the correction is to like help them get better. And if you're doing that publicly, their ego is going to get in the way of that, and it's not helpful typically. And the end result of having that conversation is they want to help that person be more successful. That outcome is way more likely if it's private. But there's a principle of like, if I have to sacrifice this one person's ego or pride or whatever to protect the rest of my team, it's better that one man perish than a whole nation dwindle. And so if someone, like if I'm in correlation and somebody gives me a comment that's like super toxic or just flat out wrong, that's influencing the thinking of my team, I'm gonna smash it, and I'm gonna smash it hard because I'm going to protect my team. That's way more important than the ego of one guy that's needs some correction. So there are some exceptions to, this is a really good guideline and you should look for opportunities to stick to it. But if there's needs to be correction in a way that's gonna protect or preserve your team, you've gotta be strong enough of a leader to be willing to have that public confrontation.
I agree with this. My one thought would just be like, I'm just like pondering on this. I think if you always go that route though, like, and people never see corrections adjusted in, it's almost sometimes can be a good way to show the team that you're serious.
Well, that's why that's why I like them step into my office, because, you know, teams know what's going
Yeah.
on. Like, if you got a guy that's like not doing what he's supposed to, and everyone knows, and if everyone knows, and they know you're not doing anything about it,
Yeah.
then your credibility as a leader is hurt, right? It's diminished. And when you're like, step into my office and like, hey, like everyone sees that you guys are going off into the chemical closet, it's like, they know what's going on, and ideally, if that's done right, then they also are going to see the behaviors change. Right? And, or that somebody's going home. But like, that's healthy for a team to see.
I mean, I understand this question is gonna like be case to case.
Sure.
But how would you want those kind of stepping in my office conversations to kind of be? 'Cause I feel like it's important to have them, and I understand that like things need to be identified. What's kind of the best way to take with that?
Great question. Kendra, go ahead.
Something that I actually learned last year, I can't remember who taught me this, but this was like insane how it works. It was essentially like, hey, I've noticed like XYZ behavior. This isn't like you. Like, I guess how can we like change that so that it's a little bit more like you and we can see X, Y, and Z results. And it took like the pressure off of like, you're doing this wrong to like, maybe I am like a little bit different. Like, this isn't me. Like, I want to change my identity to be back to like what Tanner sees in me, you know? And that was really cool. It worked really, really effectively with a lot of the reps I used that on, and it didn't make it seem like me against you. It was us together.
Getting on their team is powerful, right? Sometimes guys don't want to be on your team. And sometimes that's where you earn your paycheck, right? As a leader, is having to, you know, navigate that in a way where ultimately, like every time in any of those interactions, I'm looking to like help improve that individual. And I'm willing to help that individual as long as they want to be helped, want to work with them, unless their willingness to, if they can't or they won't change, and their unwillingness or inability to change is hurting my team to the team's detriment, then we have to be able to make that call and let them go. Which is something that probably needs to be happening more of in our company candidly. There's like, if someone's hurting your team, and candidly, like if we just set an expectation that we sell great sales daily, and that's not happening, and they've been out there longer than 6 weeks, then they probably should be going. And it should at the very least be a conversation that you're bringing to Parker so that we can discuss what's the right move with this guy. So that, I know that like case by case, there is going to be very varied depending on what the issue is and who that rep is and what pushes their buttons. So this is an answer to both of your questions. I'm hoping that we can, in 5 minutes or less, teach an important principle about how we go about correcting, right? And so when we set up these expectations and we hold expectations, there's kind of 4 options or 4 quadrants that we see that leaders fall into. And so like the first one would be, I've got low expectations and I've got low love. And basically that is like, I don't really expect anything of you and it's mostly because I don't care. So do whatever you want and I'm gonna go get mine. And we see that sometimes where it's like, hey, if you wanna ruin your summer, like you wanna waste your life, like that's on you, like no skin off my back and I'm gonna go sell. So you do whatever you want and I'm not really that interested one way or the other. So that's an option, right? Another option that we often see would be, I'm way high on my expectations, but I'm also super low on my love. And that's kind of like the dictator manager, like opposite word there being the dick. That's the guy that's like, these are the rules and you have to do it. And I don't like love it or leave it. you don't wanna like obey our rules and you can get out. Like, that kind of leadership style doesn't work super good either. Hopefully you can kind of see that, right, where there's this like, I've got high expectations, meaning lots of rules. Not expectations like, I think you're great and you can do this, but like, here's the, oh, you're linked to correlation, I got you. But there's no love in that, right? Flip side of that is you can have super high love, but still have low expectations, which candidly, I think the low love is not really our scene. I think for the most part, we as a culture are pretty good about recognizing people for people and looking after them. We want our people to win. I think that's something that's cool about our culture. But we fall into the trap of high love, low expectation. Oh man, you're a good dude and I sure love you. And even though you suck really bad, like we'll just let you hang out here and be part of the team and it's okay. Like I would be willing to bet that all of you have seen that in our organization. Where that happens sometimes. And that's low love. In my opinion, it's not real love. If you don't love people enough to like help them win, it's not really love. It feels love because you're like being nice. But if there isn't that expectation to follow up with it, we're not really helping people out by allowing them to suck. It's not good for them and it's not good for our teams because of what we already talked about with expectation. What you allow is the real expectation. And if you think that about, we had a senior meeting last night, we were talking about specific incentives and dinner goal, but it's the idea of like, oh, like, we're so close to dinner, guys, so I'll do a little deal with you, and if we can have a good day today, like, we'll still go. That feels like high love, but we're shifting the expectation, and the long-term effect of that is that you're hurting the people because you're lowering your expectation. So now they're conditioned to think, dude, I don't really have to deliver, I don't really have to hit my goal, and points still gonna be up, my manager's still gonna like throw me a ball. And now we've hurt them by not holding that expectation. Does that make sense? So the last quadrant, which is the one that we recommend, that we aspire to, right, is high expectation and high love. Where we do put people first. And I love, what Tanner taught isn't just a technique, but when you genuinely know someone and you know what they're capable of and you want to bring the best out of them, and they know that, then that changes the way that they receive feedback from you or correction from you. If it's about like, you're wasting my time and like you're wasting your time and like get out, like that's a low level approach that people can tell that you don't really care, right? But when you genuinely care about people and when you care about them enough to have a difficult conversation and to hold an expectation, that's transformative. That's where you get people to level up and to actually change. And so hopefully you can maybe see some echoes of the book that you and I just were talking about with leadership and self-deception, where the key to great leadership is first seeing people for people and not objects that can just be used to get your back end check or to get your goal or to get what you want. That people come first. And when we really see people for who they are and we really love them, then we're willing to do the hard things to help them level up to that. Any comments or questions on this? Or
try to practice this right now through reps. For example, I have a rep that I had to have a hard conversation with just barely last week because he was just not super committed to training. And I just said, like, look, man, I love you. I think the best of you. I think you could really succeed. But if I'm more committed than you are to this thing, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I don't want you on my team if you're not going to commit to training right now. And he's been training with me ever since. So it's something where we talk about this in the future tense of like, do this
in the
summer, but do this right now with the reps.
Yeah, both of these principles of emotional leadership and setting and holding expectations are things that you should be doing with your team every day. Any other comments or questions on this idea of high love, high expectation, and what that looks like in a summer? Or what it looks like right now in your leadership responsibilities? Or
I was just thinking, like, I'm not that interested anymore in my life, having people in my life that like I don't have, that I'm not in that quadrant with.
Yeah.
Like I hope I have those types of relationships just in my life in general, you know? I just don't see a lot of value in spending my time with people that I can't love in that way, or I'm like, dude, let's get the best out of each other,
Yeah.
you know? And so, like that becomes your tribe, and I think, I just wanted to say, like, I love that thought from Carter, like that starts now, you set that tone now, so that when the summer rolls around, they're not shocked, like, oh, dude, Carter just turned into like some different person, you know, like,
Oh, now you're gonna be my boss, huh?
yeah, exactly, like, oh, now that summer's here, like, you're gonna turn on this different switch, like, it's just like part of knowing me, part of my identity is like, I wanna get the best out of people around me, and I think that we can all accomplish that.
Thanks, Brooke. Any other thoughts on this? I hope that you'll be aware of that, right? Like, that as you interact with your people, as you strive to be the best leader that you can be, that you're thinking about, like, where, like, again, where am I coming from personally as I interact with this person, and am I approaching this from a place of love? And then do I love this person enough to hold them accountable to the expectations? But like, man, think about what you go through in a summer, right? How hard you work, how much you sacrifice, how grindy it is. Can you imagine like having someone go through that and not have anything to show for it at the end of the summer? To me, like, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Like, I can't imagine allowing that to happen to someone that I actually care about. Like, I would way rather be like, dude, because I love you, if you're really giving it all you have, maybe this isn't the right fit for you, and let's have an honest conversation about what's the right move for you. But if it's like, hey man, like, I know that you're capable of doing this, and I know that you can do more, like, let's talk about how we help you make this worth the sacrifice you're making. How do we help you reach your full potential so this is actually worth it and a positive experience for you? And help them make those changes. I think that guys, like, I know people will respond way better to that kind of approach where it's about how do I help you reach your full potential than it is about like you broke the rules and now you're messing up the system. You good there? Any other thoughts or comments on that? Man, like, I think if you look to the best leaders ever, throughout your own lives and throughout history, if people that lead with high level, high expectation, like, I think there's some eternal principle there. And so to learn how to do that now in a professional setting will bless you professionally, it will bless you in your homes, it will make you a more capable leader in every aspect of your life moving forward. So again, this is something that isn't like unique to summer. This is applicable to life. And you have a great opportunity to apply that now. Darren, if you'll start keying up that last video, we're gonna end with the good video, just so I think it's a high note to end on. As he's queuing that up, let's just do a couple minutes of like key takeaways from today. What have you learned that will help you be a better manager now and in the summer?
So this is, I was reading a talk a couple weeks ago, and I took a screenshot of this one section that I just kind of wanted to share. There's no real division between spiritual, mental, and physical work. Work is essential for each of us to grow, character development, and many satisfactions that the idle will never know. President David O. McKay said, "Let us realize that the privilege to work is a gift, and the power to work is a blessing, and the love of work is success." And I think if you just like, if you bury your mind in the idea that work is a gift, I mean, you can't really fail.
Love that. Thank you for sharing that. Other takeaways? Making me nervous. Did nobody learn anything new? Just a waste of the last 2 hours? What'd you learn?
I'm not gonna lie, like at first when I went to this meeting, I thought it would just be mainly for like all the senior leaders. But I really realized that a lot of the things that are applicable to the senior leaders are also applicable to us. That we're here to help a lot of the senior leaders and a lot of our reps just do what they need to do in order to try to be productive just in general.
I love that. Thank you, Adam. if you're in this room, it's because you have a role like this now and then. What else?
I really not like how your summer goes and how you like what's before kind of start with you. Like you have to be the leader, you have to be the example, show them that it's possible, be positive, throughout the summer.
Is that, how do you feel about that revelation? Is it,
like I wanna make some changes this summer,
cool,
so.
I love that. Hopefully that's empowering. Good. Any others?
That's what so much more than the money than just like the job, because like for me, I don't know, doing this job was like, kind of changed my life. Cause I'm like, whoa, I have this skill I didn't know that I had before. And like whenever you do anything hard, whether it's like a mission or a job or anything like building something in your backyard, anything hard class, you just feel so accomplished after, and then you just grow so much as a person. Like in all aspects of your life, you will be the same. So we can like give that opportunity to other people and have it be a wonderful, like make it a wonderful experience. So they can get all the benefits and also like have an enjoyable time while doing it. It's a lot.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Okay. We'll continue this conversation on how to empower you to be able to lead from the front and to bring your people with you in a month. So that you have you guys at that retreat. We'll end with this clip from Jocko, and then we'll call it a day. And thanks for being.
One of my direct subordinates, one of my guys that worked for me, he would call me up or pull me aside with some major problem, some issue that was going on. And he'd say, boss, we got this and that and the other thing. And I'd look at him and I'd say, good. And finally one day he was telling me about some issue, he was having some problem, and he said, I already know what you're gonna say. And I said, well, what am I gonna say? He said, you're gonna say good. He said, that's what you always say. When something is wrong and going bad, you always just look at me and say good. And I said, well, yeah, when things are going bad, there's gonna be some good that's gonna come from it. Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good. Didn't get promoted? Good. Oh, mission got canceled? Good. We can focus on it. Didn't get funded? Didn't get the job you wanted? Got injured? Sprained my ankle? Got tapped out? Good. Yep. Expected problems. It's going bad. Get bummed out. Get started. Get frustrated. If you could say the word good, guess what? We need you still alive. We need you still. If you're still breathing, you still got to fight back. So get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, go out on the attack.
Love that guy, man. He's one of my favorites. Let's go get it, guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for spending your Saturday, and let's make it a great month.